Welcome to the Leader to Leader podcast. I'm your host, Susan Spears. Our guest today is Dr. Christopher Newman. He is President and Chief Executive Officer for Mary Washington Healthcare here in the Fredericksburg, Virginia region. Dr. Newman, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to meet with you here today. Dr. Newman has been with Mary Washington Healthcare since 2019. Great time to come, a year before a pandemic. Just barely get your feet wet. He was the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Medical Officer at Mary Washington Healthcare for several years there, from 2019 until March of this year, 2025, when he was selected as President and CEO. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Mary Washington Healthcare and then a little more about Dr. Newman before we dive in. Mary Washington Healthcare is a fully integrated regional nonprofit healthcare system that provides inpatient and outpatient care through more than 80 facilities, including Mary Washington Hospital, which has 400 beds, Stafford Hospital, a 100-bed community hospital, and Snowden, a 71-bed behavioral health hospital, 4 emergency departments, and a multi-specialty graduate medical education program. They have a workforce of more than 4,500 associates, and that is pretty darn large here in the Fredericksburg, Virginia region.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, now back to a little bit more about Dr. Newman. He received his undergraduate degree from the University of Scranton and his medical degree from Georgetown University School of Medicine. He earned his Master of Business Administration degree from the University of Virginia, Darden School of Business. If my dad's listening, he'll say, yeah, on that one, because he joins you on that. Prior to joining Mary Washington Healthcare, Dr. Newman served as Chief Medical Officer for Penn State Health, the St. Joseph Regional Health Network, and he led the operations of Penn State Health's medical group in the Berks region. Now, here in our community, it didn't take him long to get really involved with things. So he currently serves on the Board of Visitors for the University of Mary Washington, and even on their executive committee. That's amazing. The Board of St. Francis Ministries, the Board of Fredericksburg Academy, and the Board of the Fredericksburg Symphony Orchestra. That's very diverse. I love learning about somebody's interests. So we're learning about them right here as I look at where you're serving in the community. Also to add, he is an accomplished musician and composer, having performed professionally throughout the country with numerous classical, jazz, blues, and rock groups since he was a teen. So listeners, we are definitely going to talk about that because you all know that I like to talk about music. Proud father of 4 children, and his wife, Heather, is a practicing neuroradiologist. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm having fun just reading your bio. So welcome.
Thanks.
It's awesome to have you here. Now tell me a little bit more about you, Dr. Newman, as a leader. Tell me about your journey.
Yeah, I never really anticipated being a leader. I started off my career as a small town doc in rural Southern Illinois. I was a solo practitioner and really did everything from house visits to worked in the clinic to worked in the ICU. So I mean, it was literally all the care in the community, and it was very, very rewarding job. It was a poorer community, and I had the opportunity to take care of absolutely everybody who walked in the door, regardless of ability to pay. And it reminds me of that movie, Doc Hollywood, back in the day.
Nice.
I don't know if you ever remember that movie, but people literally did pay me in trade. The people I took care of for years helped me out with various things. It was a tight-knit community, and it was an excellent experience. But leadership wasn't something that I necessarily knew I wanted to aspire to. It was something I sort of accidentally fell into. With the health system there in Southern Illinois, I got the position as a medical director very early in my career, and I was in that role for a little over 5 to 6 years. I had that job, and I probably would have stayed at that position. I did love it if it wasn't for my wife, who is a subspecialist, and there was not a need for her in a small town. So we moved back to Pennsylvania, where my family was from, and she got a job at Lehigh Valley Hospital, and I joined a practice there, and it was an early hospitalist group where you took care of patients in the hospital, and ended up through that private practice leading, leading that group, which really grew from 6 providers to really 36 providers in a very short period of time. But my true journey and the real kind of reflection point in my life was, we were taken over by the hospital, and there was sort of a negative or toxic culture at that time. And I find myself to be a type of person that doesn't just complain. I want to be part of the solution rather than be a complainer. And, I stuck it out for a couple of years, even though many of the physicians did leave at that point. But that's when I chose to go to Darden and look to do something to something different. And I never had intended to do healthcare leadership. It was a tough time, but at that point I had thought that I was going to leave medicine and do something else. I had taken a consulting job in Pittsburgh, and it was really my wife. She didn't want to move to Pittsburgh, and she was looking through job offers, and she saw the role as chief medical officer at Penn State Health St. Joe's, and which was about 45-minute drive from where we are. And she encouraged me to apply, and it was kind of an unusual thing. I just called the HR department, and they said, "Well, we're kind of in the final stages. We're in our final 2 candidates, and things are just sort of wrapping up. But why don't you send us your CV?" So I sent the CV in, and they called me like literally an hour later and said, "Could you be here tomorrow for an interview?" And so I decided to go in, and it was just sort of a short interview with the CEO, and it was supposed to be a half an hour meeting, and we ended up hitting it off, and it was like 2.5 hour discussion. And he had me come meet some medical staff leaders the next night at a dinner, and next thing you know, I was jumping right in. And I think I decided at that point that if I was going to transition from being a physician to being a healthcare administrator, or being on the other side, or putting on that suit, I wanted to create a different environment for our care providers, physicians, nurses. Otherwise, I wanted to create a different culture, and that's just sort of what set me on this trajectory of leadership in healthcare, and it's been an extremely rewarding one.
Yeah, well, so super interesting. The whole path that you've talked about. We could spend our whole time on any section of that, much less where you are now. There has to be some kind of a real natural leadership that's evident in how you show up. For you to have just sent that in and then want to talk to you. Okay, so they're seeing something in the written, but having you come in, I mean, I can't imagine how fantastic. You must have known somewhere in that discussion it was going well. It felt good and natural, probably, because when it feels like you're going in the wrong direction, you can kind of feel that gut. Yeah. Going, oh yeah, either the question or something about it, something in the room feels off. But I bet it was probably a spectacular feeling as you were having the interview and then the dinner.
Yeah, no, I've always been able to connect with people fairly well, and I maybe that's a bit natural. I tend to have stronger relational skills, but I find that so many people that consider leadership or consider going into a leadership role often choose to do it for the wrong reasons. They're looking at more the egocentric parts of that.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
It's the pollen.
It is allergy season, and we're in Virginia, so look it up. The numbers are high.
It is tough.
We've both got our waters right here, and we're gonna have our moments. It's okay.
When I have young leaders coming to to talk to me, they often are thinking about, oh, it's the status or the prominence or the money, or I'm burned out what I'm doing. And leadership really isn't about any of that. It really is putting yourself in service of others. And I always find the more that I just give, I get tenfold back. And it's always been that way, so I don't worry about all the other stuff. It will come, it may not come, but I always just try to lead, to try to do the right thing.
Doing the right things for the right reasons, right?
That's right. That's
yeah.
right.
Well, you just described what's known as servant leadership. I know you know that. Also, high emotional intelligence, which is where you can kind of feel where you're needed, what's happening, how to read the room,
Yeah.
Sometimes that's when to be more serious or less serious, right? But it's just knowing what's right in front of you. I'm curious if you've had different mentors along the way, if there've been people that really influenced your path.
Most certainly. I often find that I learn in small ways from all sorts of people every day.
Yes.
So it's not always just that one person who has that huge impact in your life. It's just hundreds of people that have impact on your life over years. Mm-hmm. But if I had to narrow it down to a few people, I have to start with my parents. I am just blessed to have grown up with fantastic parents who I grew up in a home of love and support. And growing back in the 70s and 80s, it was before, internet and YouTube and all this kind of stuff. For me to have the opportunities growing up in rural Pennsylvania that I needed, they were driving me all over the place. Yeah, and I think about when I started my professional music career, I was only like 14 or 15 years old, and they're driving me to gigs and driving me all over the place,
Okay,
so just really fantastic. And they just really believed in me, supported me, made me feel that I could just do anything I put my mind to. So I'm just really blessed to still have them in my life and my family's life. I guess second would be Cheryl Boga, who has been for over 40 years the head of the music department at the University of Scranton. And
we can't get away from it, can we?
Yeah. And she is a force of nature. If you meet her, you will not forget her. She leads boldly. She's larger than life. And, she really, I think, helped me come out of my shell and let me be more confident and be bold. Cheryl's the type of person who will call anybody up, the most important person, some famous person.
Yes.
And the next thing you know, they're at our house and they're having dinner and they're best friends. She taught me how to network.
Yeah, that's a connector.
She is a connector, and she's just fantastic. And then lastly is that CEO at St. Joseph's Regional Health Network with Penn State. I had gotten the degree from University of Virginia. I had the MBA. I knew the book side of things. I had some real life leadership experience running practices, but I'd never run a hospital before.
Yeah,
and
sure.
He really took the time to mentor me and teach me all the practical nuts and bolts of running a health system. And, he was a long tenured leader, and I really appreciate the time that he took with me over the 5 or so years I was there.
When you think about him taking that time with you like that, let me ask you, did you ask him to take the time, or did you fall into that relationship?
I think it fell into that relationship. Yeah, it just, he took an interest, in me, and I was working hard for him, and it was just sort of a great relationship. Yeah,
that's really special. The leaders that take that time they see something special in someone and say, how can I help bring even more out and do more for them? So
that's right.
That's phenomenal. I loved what you said about your parents in the 70s and 80s, I guess. We have a lot in common. In Leadership Fredericksburg, we do a personal mission statement. And the opening of my statement is, I am a child of the 70s, raised in an atmosphere of sunshine, security, and unconditional love.
That's
so,
perfect.
So
that's
when
exactly
what
right.
you said really resonated. My father's an educator. He was the former superintendent of schools here in Fredericksburg.
Oh, wonderful.
And so when your parents are in community or showing you that support, it really does. It makes you face the world with that love and security, right? Sometimes it hurts us because we think the world may face us the same way, and it doesn't always.
Doesn't
right?
always work out that way, right?
And then people don't always believe it when you're kind of so pure, because we do face the world with that heart of love and service, and we believe in it because it's been given to us. And so over time, people go, no, they're for real.
Yeah.
Dr. Newman really is that way. Well, I'm going to go back to the thing I really wanted to ask you about too. Is you keep mentioning it a little bit. So let's go there. Some of the music part.
Yeah.
Was that something that just as a little kid, like, were you just listening to back then the transistor radio, or what inspired you to say, I want to be a musician?
Well, I grew up in a musical family. My mom was a singer, and my dad played saxophone, and
Okay.
but my mom said, it was unusual because at like 1.5, 2 years old, I could just sing perfectly on pitch, and she thought it was kind of interesting, and they kind of encouraged me on it, but it wasn't one of those things where they pushed me towards it. It was just something that I feel pulled to. I started just taking some local piano lessons, but really things took off when I started taking trumpet lessons, and I really gravitated to that instrument. And, really, by the time I was, a freshman in high school, I was playing very seriously and playing all over the place, and getting to play professionally with adult musicians. And it was really just a fantastic experience. I met so many different people in so many different walks of life, musicians, creative people, loving people. It really has been a strong part of my life, culture and the arts, no doubt.
Yeah, so you carry that with you as you transition into really this business role.
Yeah.
Medical role and business role. So you've gone through a whole lot of things, but you're still there's this heart and this passion, right, for that musical side.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, tell me who your favorites are that you like to listen to.
Oh, it is so varied because I have such an eclectic taste in music. I like all sorts of genres, but I guess starting with jazz, it would have to go back to some of the jazz classics like Miles Davis. Yeah. I had the privilege of getting to take some lessons and study with Wynton Marsalis.
Oh, he was at VCU, or his dad was at VCU.
Oh, was he?
When I was there.
Okay.
Wait,
Ellis?
No. Yeah, Ellis
Marsalis.
He would walk around campus, and at the time, Wynton was playing with Sting. Am I right?
That was Branford, his brother. Branford.
Okay, forgive me. I remember the Sting part and the family as a whole. And so he would be walking around, and my friends and I would be like, "Oh my God, that's, wow!" We never had the courage to really get to know him back then, but he wasn't one of our teachers. I'm sorry, I digressed.
No. And then I love rock and roll, popular music, everything from the Beatles and Rolling Stones all the way up to a lot of great indie rock and pop artists today, to punk rock, to you name it. All different things. I love old classic country music, Americana, and classical music, symphony music. I've got to play in symphonies for years, and just fantastic. Yeah,
I did some of that in college. Rolling Stones are my favorite.
Yeah.
So listeners, we knocked it. We went there. We went a little off, but now if you happen to go and I'm going to make this up, Mary Washington Hospital, we might start to have elevator music. We're not. I'm making that up. But anyway, it could be fun there. By the way, a good friend of mine that supports Mary Washington Healthcare sat right here last week, Joe Wilson.
Oh.
And I was telling him about the lovely photo that's up in the atrium there of Joe and Mary, recognizing their giving to the system. And it's so great when you walk into the hospital, you see the list of all the folks that have donated and sponsored the hospital's different ways and financially over the years. With it being a community hospital, it's you just see so much community right when you walk in the door, and it's just a joy to see the way people support it and give back. So you've joined a system with a long history of community. So let's chat about that some too. We're kind of weaving all around here, but that place with 4,500 associates, what makes you love it?
Well, I think the true mission of the organization, I've worked for other nonprofit health systems, and they talk the talk, but they don't quite walk the walk to the degree that Mary Washington does. And that's not something that I started. That's something long precedes me. But Mary Washington Healthcare is truly here to serve the community and the entire community. And we're truly invested in the health of the community. And I think I saw it right when I got here, when the COVID pandemic hit, and just how everybody rallied together in service of this community. But it really is in our DNA, and everything that we do, we truly put the community first.
Yeah, the leaders and and staff from all over the healthcare system are heavily involved in different committees and boards, groups, churches, just every possible way you can see all throughout our community. I don't think I've served on anything where I haven't been with somebody that's part of the system,
Yeah, I work with just a great group of people, and it's a great responsibility that I take very seriously because it's an important institution for all of us who live in this community, and we take it very seriously.
Yep. Well, one of the newer things is the multi-specialty graduate medical education program and what's been happening there. Is that something you'd like to share a little bit more with our listeners about?
Absolutely. So Mary Washington Healthcare and my vision is we're in a bit of a transition, and that's for several reasons. But we're going from a community health system to more of a teaching institution and an academic institution, and we're doing that for several reasons. Not because the core mission will not be, it will always be serving this community, but there is a huge shortage of licensed healthcare providers, all licensed healthcare providers, from nurses, physicians, pharmacists, physical therapists, you name it, we have a shortage. And we're in a situation where we're going to need to grow our own to be able to have enough care providers here in our community to serve our community. So that's one aspect of it. Number two is we have about 500,000 people here now in our region, and we're at a point population-wise where we can support really high-end care here in our community. And people will not have to leave to go to a UVA or VCU or Washington, D.C. For higher-end care should you need it. And we are now going to start developing a lot of those, what they call quaternary services, those very, very higher-end services right here in Fredericksburg. And that academic chassis can support those subspecialists. It can support the research and development sometimes need to be the foundation of some of those programs. So we're going to be on a trajectory probably over the next 5 to 10 years to increase the sophistication of care and really grow our own providers in all sorts of licensed care professionals.
Well, thank you for doing that. It really takes the, strategy and leadership at the board and administrative level to look at things and say we really have to do this to be sustainable, and to properly support this ever-growing population, this region that's been among the fastest growing regions in the Commonwealth of Virginia since 1970.
Yes.
I grew up here, and I do remember the hospital, Mary Washington Hospital, being the only one, and the only way you could get to it was Route 1.
Yeah.
And it had one entrance, and anybody that's lived here any amount of time might remember when Route 1 would just be stopped. If something happened on 95, Route 1, everything, connected back into our community for stuff happening on 95. And then what are you going to do? It really was quite awful. Yeah. And so now we've got Cowan Boulevard. Daddy, city council, when my father was on there, did that. But Cowan Boulevard, you've got the backside over there with Bragg Road coming up in, and you even got a little connector through the shopping center there of Eagle Village if needed, right? Yeah. To get over to just that one campus. And now there are two other hospitals in the region, the Stafford Hospital and then Spotsy Regional. So there are other options because we've grown so much. But for that campus to have been built up the way it was, and then to continuously say, oh, no, we can't stop there.
Yeah.
We have to keep making it better.
We have to grow with our community as much of the infrastructure with this community is going to have to grow. That's, the roads and schools and all these things will need to grow with our community. But just one little last piece on the graduate medical education program, because we're very proud of it. When it's fully built out in a couple of years, we'll have hundreds of physicians training right here at Mary Washington Healthcare to stay in our, hopefully stay in our community. We have a anesthesia residency starting in July, and we're only the third anesthesia residency in the state of Virginia. So really proud about the education and the quality of that education that we are building right here in Fredericksburg.
That's great. And you're sitting here with the Chamber of Commerce, one of our biggest pieces has always been finding ways with our workforce for folks to be able to be educated here in the region and stay here, be able to have jobs and work here.
Yes.
And so working on that pipeline and really having that vision is so critical. So we're really glad you're doing that, and we know it's going to be successful. Great. Yeah, we thank you for that. So many partnerships along the way and making that happen. And at the Chamber, we sit and watch the connections and the partnerships happen with our, to your point, University of Mary Washington, Germanna Community College, and others. It's just really terrific.
Yes.
So we're happy about all of those things and love it. All right. So tell me, because this has been really positive, let's talk about just for a moment. It won't be not positive. I just want to say, what's a hard day? What's difficult for you as a leader?
Well, I think the higher you go up in leadership, they say it gets lonely, right? Lonely
yes.
at the top. You have fewer peers, and a lot of the heavy decisions sit solely on your shoulders.
Yes.
And you have to have the courage to make those decisions. And sometimes those are hardest when things aren't going well, right? Mm-hmm. When things are going well, it's really easy to lead sometimes. But when there's an economic downturn or regulatory things come in from the federal government or the state government that negatively affect our industry, it can be difficult to make the right decisions and make those right calls, and realizing that every decision you make affects real people. It could either be our associates or it could be people in our community. So it's, that can be heavy. Yeah.
So I know you're still in this one. It's a newer journey, so you'll figure out where those sounding boards are. Maybe they're not right here in this region.
Yeah. That's where you look for peers often, is people who have the similar role at other organizations. Yes. And I am lucky to be able to participate in great organizations that have that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I have to tell you, when COVID hit, a Chamber of Commerce, we're out there every day. We're with people. We're very social, like you are. And within the first week, I was at home and so depressed. And I said, "This isn't me," So I sent out an email to 9 other chamber execs from around Virginia that I was friends with from our state association, and we started meeting on Wednesdays at 4 on Zoom, and we did it for 3 years.
Yeah,
and they're still some of my closest friends and colleagues from around Virginia that ran that were CEOs of other chambers, and boy, was that helpful.
It's great to have a network like that.
And even there was that stuff like PPP, and one of I think it was Kate in Arlington. Shout out to you, Kate Bates, who was ahead of us on getting that started and really helped the rest. So it's really great though when something's happening in your community and you're in that position of leadership, and sometimes you just need to talk about it, and your wife doesn't want to hear it again.
That's right. That's right.
Right, and your kids definitely don't.
Definitely.
Yeah. Do your kids, do they have a good understanding of what you do?
It's kind of funny. So I'll just tell sort of a funny story that I've told before. So, my kids my family loves living in Fredericksburg. So
that's
it's
awesome.
Really been we just love this community, and my kids definitely don't want to leave. And they knew I was getting some interest from other areas of the country with my old position, and they were just worried about leaving. So I came home and I said, kids, I need you guys to sit down, and had them all sit down. I said, I have some big news. Your dad got a new job. And they all stood up and they started screaming, "We're not leaving. You can go. We're not leaving."
You can go. We're not going.
And so I said, no. I was just promoted to the CEO of Mary Washington Healthcare. And my youngest daughter, Molly, as only Molly would say, she goes, "That's it? What's the big deal with that?"
Right. Don't know the difference.
Yeah.
You're just going to the same place.
I think as they get older, they're realizing, the importance of the role in the community, but to them, I'm just dad.
Just dad.
Just dad.
Just dad. I love that. Well, it just sounds like everything is going well, and I'm excited to sit down with you now early in the journey, and I look forward to us connecting again here on the podcast and in the community in the future and continuing to hear about your journey.
Oh, definitely.
As you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as we start to wind down, I'd like to ask if you have a favorite quote you'd like to share with our listeners.
Yeah, I'm going to share one here. And this is, I guess maybe as a UVA grad, it's a Thomas Jefferson quote. And it says, "I'm a great believer in luck, and I find the harder I work, the more I have of it." So I think that's so much the case. And I think it really, you have to have that grit. You have to put in the work. And then great things will come. Do the right things for the right reasons, and great things come.
Love it. All of that is so good. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
Well, I have one rule, and
Okay.
and I always, I tell my team this. I had a retreat to tell the team this, and I tell my kids this. Dad only has one rule, and that's to have fun. I say that a little bit in jest, but there's a lot in there. For my kids, it's if they're arguing or if they're complaining, you're breaking my rule. We're not having fun. So. But with the team and at work, we. In healthcare, you face really tough challenges, right? It's not always fun, and there are some tough things. But we have to find joy in our work. And if we're having fun, we know we're enthusiastic about the work in front of us, and we know we're working collaboratively as a team, and we know we're going to be optimistic and get to where we need to be. So I always tell my teams, have fun, enjoy this. This is a privilege, what we get to do every day.
Well, I absolutely love that. Thank you for sharing that and so much else with us here in just this brief. Let me look. It's been just over a half hour. Wow. Feels like about 5 minutes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's been great just touching on a couple of things and getting to know you a little bit better.
Great.
Welcome to the president and CEO role as the leader of Mary Washington Healthcare here in the Fredericksburg, Virginia region. Dr. Christopher Newman, no stranger to the region. He's been here since 2019, and we are certainly proud of the work you're doing and delighted to have you as a community collaborator and partner. Mary Washington Healthcare is a huge supporter of the Fredericksburg Regional Chamber of Commerce, among many other important institutions and parts of our community that make such a difference. So we thank you for being with us.
Thanks for spending some time with me today. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. And I'm going to ask you your favorite songs in the future too, by the way. So always be ready. Okay. All right. So we are concluding our interview. Again, I'm Susan Spears, and our guest today was Dr. Christopher Newman, President and CEO of Mary Washington Healthcare. If you haven't already liked the Chamber's Leader to Leader podcast, please go ahead and do so. Subscribe to us so you can hear from Dr. Newman and other great leaders in the Fredericksburg, Virginia region. Thanks. Have a great day.